dozens of Chinese firms to its trade blacklist, and it includes China's largest chip maker, SMIC. Well, the U.S. Commerce Department confirmed the decision, and Secretary Wilbur Ross said entity list restrictions are a necessary measure to ensure that China, through its national champion SMIC, is not able to leverage U.S. technologies to enable indigenous advanced technology levels to support its destabilizing military activities. On Friday, China opposed the decision, calling it a way for the U.S. to suppress Chinese companies.
If it is true, this will be another example of the U.S. using state power to suppress Chinese companies. China firmly opposes it. The U.S. politicizes economic and trade issues, violates the principles of market economy and fair competition it has long been advocating, and violates international trade rules. It not only harms the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese companies, but it also impairs the interests of American companies and will seriously obstruct the normal technology exchanges and trade between the two countries, and even among countries in the world. It will further damage the global industrial chains, supply chains, and value chains.
The new rules will require a Commerce Department license for all U.S. export origin technology going to SMIC. Ross also told Fox Business a total of 77 companies and affiliates will be added to this so-called entity list, including 60 Chinese companies. For more on this, we bring in Bloomberg's co-host Christy Ai. Christy, how does this affect SMIC?
Well, this is really concerning, as this designation basically restricts companies from exporting U.S. origin technology to these firms like SMIC without a license. So this effectively prohibits SMIC from acquiring technology to build chips with 10 nanometer circuits and smaller, which is the industry's top class of chips. And this move is now being seen as the latest effort to cement Trump's legacy of being tough on China. So these latest policies are going to make it significantly more difficult for the incoming administration to unwind and restore. So it's kind of almost like Trump's last hurrah attempt. So this move also significantly raises the pressure on the chip maker, who receives billions of dollars in state backing and is central to Beijing's drive to improve the country's self-sufficiency in critical technologies like semis. So China responded to this and called Washington to stop its arbitrary suppression of Chinese companies, and Chinese Foreign Ministry said that the blacklisting would be evidence of U.S.'s oppression of Chinese companies and that Beijing would continue to take necessary measures to protect their rights. So this is also very concerning to investors, as well as shares of SMIC fell 5.2% in Hong Kong Friday, weighing down on the entire broader tech sector.
Well, they are the largest chip maker from China. Does this claim that SMIC has military ties, does it have any basis at all?
No, not at all. SMIC has repeatedly denied any relationship with the Chinese military, and the U.S. has yet to substantiate any proof of its claim that SMIC provides any sort of application to the military. So everything that the U.S. is claiming, these are broad claims that these 60 blacklisted companies have ties to the People's Liberation Army and the military. However, as we've talked about, most technologies have some sort of application to the military, not ties to the military. Let's just differentiate that point. But applications that could be used by the military. These things include drones, GPS navigation that everyone has in their cars, cell phones, facial recognition, and biometrics that we have on our phones. All of these things are widely used consumer goods, but they all have some sort of military application. So in that case, should we start blacklisting all these drone companies as well, restrict GPS access, block all data and network providers over some notion that they could potentially have ties to the military without ever having any proof? So this has really nothing to do with the claims for national security. And this has everything to do with the fact that China has access and is building out very advanced semiconductor products and is closing the gap on the US's tech dominance. So this was a very targeted and strategic attack on SMIC, who currently trails Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co., which is the industry's market leader in its development of the most advanced chips. So it has sought to build out foundries for the manufacture of computer chips that can compete with those of TSMC and is rapidly becoming a viable competitor.
Well, it sounds like that's kind of where we're heading, where the United States is doing more to block these Chinese companies. We saw it with Huawei, now we're seeing it with SMIC. Christy, I do want to turn to Bitcoin. Coinbase is now planning to go public as Bitcoin pushed past 23,000. We've been talking about this a lot. We didn't think it would reach this until next year. It's really rallying this week, surging. What's the latest here?
So right now, Bitcoin has absolutely been pumped up by the institutionals right now. And there's a lot of support coming in at the 16,000, 18,000, providing a lot of support. So I don't expect Bitcoin to fall below the 20,000 mark anytime soon. And for the Santa rally to continue, because we see the rally in the equities market with the S&P already all-time highs. And so that bullishness is being carried over and it's dripping into the cryptocurrency market. So we've seen a lot. And right now, Coinbase is trying to kind of capitalize on this newfound rally. With Bitcoin breaking the 23,000 mark, Coinbase has also begun exploring the process of an IPO. So currently, it's filed a draft registration statement with the SEC, and by some estimates, Coinbase has a valuation exceeding that of $8 billion. So this announcement comes while all the other cryptocurrencies and its assets have soared, and they currently have more than $25 billion in assets on their platform and more than $320 billion in total volume being traded. However, in recent weeks, we have seen some technical glitches. So this is all very exciting for Coinbase, and I suppose this will be the ultimate validation for the space to see one of the most OG startups attain this unicorn status in the public market. But I have to say, in a way, it's also a bit of a sellout because the original basis and the purpose of cryptocurrency was to offer financial freedom, to break out of the trap set by bankers and traditional VCs. So, I mean, that's what happened during the ICO boom. Raising funds through crowdsourcing, decentralization, no middleman taking an underwriting fee, no exclusivity and preferential treatment for Wall Street. So all investors got equal opportunity to participate and funds were more efficiently distributed. So this is really disappointing that Coinbase is taking a more traditional route and basically turning its back on everything that the industry stands for. And at this point, I would say that they're doing it out of greed and also being pressured by early VC partners to just cash out.
Well, that's what it sounds like. Do you think it'll hit the $25,000 mark? We're a few weeks into the new year. Is it going to hit 25,000?
I think it is very possible. 25 is definitely going to be a psychological resistance point. So I do expect to see a lot of selling before then. But with all that said, if we do get more stimulus and we do get more liquidity in the market, more printing, I do think that that will also contribute to the fact that people are going to be increasingly looking towards cryptocurrency as an inflation hedge. So if that happens, and if we do get some sort of stimulus bill passed, I do see that ramping up and boosting the entire crypto market.
Yeah, it's come up pretty quickly in the last few weeks, so I wouldn't put it past it to actually reach even more all-time highs, some we haven't seen before. Cryptocurrency expert, Boombuzz co-host Christy Ai, thank you for breaking this down for us.
Thank you.
Markets are mixed this week with optimism about COVID-19 vaccines. Investors have a close eye on a no Brexit trade deal while also eyeing that U.S. stimulus. In Russia, the MOEX is up this week. Russia's central bank kept key interest rates at 4.25%. The World Bank said it expects the Russian economy to grow in the next year by 2.5%. And during his end-of-year address, Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke about diversifying the economy away from such reliance on commodities. Let's move over to Asian markets. The Shanghai Composite is up this week. Despite rising tensions between the United States and China, hopes of a recovery really helped the index gains. Healthcare and financial stocks saw some significant yields amid the rally. In Hong Kong, we see our first red arrow where the Hang Seng is just barely down. It lost nearly 1% on Friday from those rising tensions and an increase in COVID-19 cases. Tech stocks fell by 1% on Friday alone. In Japan, we see a green arrow. Despite a small drop on Friday, the Bank of Japan announced a 6-month extension of its special program aimed at easing corporate financing pressures amid the pandemic. In India, the Sensex is up its 7th straight weeks of gains, now the longest streak since April of 2019. The Nifty also gained 2% on the week. And in Australia, the ASX is up as the Australian Bureau of Statistics reported a 6.8% unemployment rate for November. That's compared to October's 7%. But IT and financials did see some losses. The All Shares in South Africa is green for the week. It fell on Friday, dropping from 2-year highs, but tech investors Naspers dropped 2% on those U.S.-China tensions, and Naspers holds a large stake in Chinese tech giant Tencent. In the UK, the FTSE is just about flat. It's retreating slightly as a post-Brexit trade deal remains in question, with time really running out with still no agreement. The CAC in France is in the red, while the German DAX is up for the week. Now, concerns over Brexit are affecting things around France, while the IFO Institute said Germany's economy will slightly shrink in this year's fourth quarter. But there is optimism for Europe's largest economy. In Brazil, the Ibovespa in the green this week despite stock growth. Central Bank President Roberto Campos Neto said questions on vaccine rollout and acceptance are really adding uncertainty to those economic forecasts. Now, just north in Mexico, the BMV is also up. On Thursday, in a split decision, Mexico's central bank held its benchmark interest rate at 4.25%. Now, some board members were looking to lower the rate to 4%. Here in the United States, all three major indices are up. The Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ, they all touched record highs amid vaccine rollout, as well as hopes for that COVID-19 relief package. And we're going to finish off in Canada, where the TSX is also in the green. This is despite Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem saying the country's economy will likely shrink amid the pandemic's second wave. Positive retail data and energy stocks also helped see some of those gains. We're going to keep an eye on U.S. stimulus and vaccines in the coming weeks. And that is your Global Market Walk. Well, 2020 is a year that many of us would like to forget. For the e-commerce sector, it has been nothing less than a blessing. COVID-19 has caused an unprecedented acceleration in online shopping, and with that, the business is priming itself by investing in innovation to keep the flow going in the coming years. RT's Alex Mihailovich has the story.
It has become an increasingly common sight. Boxes containing everything from gifts to meals being dropped off at your doorstep. COVID-19 has ushered in a more digital lifestyle across much of the world, and e-commerce, also known as online shopping, has reaped the reward. Bank of America figures show that in the past few months, we have witnessed an equivalent of 10 years of accelerated e-commerce adoption. Addressing this holiday season, a senior managing partner at IBM Services said, while last year 60% of shopping was done in-store and almost 30% online, this year, those numbers may be nearly reversed. Many predict that the trend will continue in a post-coronavirus world, and with the demand growing, so are expectations. Some business people are saying that companies must adopt to a digital-first approach if they are to survive.
The pandemic and the digital space has now allowed people and the markets to actually view it on their desktops, on their products have reached their homes, and they can make a discerning choice today.
Consumers are demanding better and faster service, and businesses are heeding the call. Tony Pizza, Senior Director of Product Management at Salesforce, said, the business challenges that we needed to address for our clients included direct access to end customers, accelerated adoption of digital commerce, modernization of legacy platforms, enable curbside delivery, reduction of return rates, adoption of omni-channel orchestration, and adoption of social network engagement platforms. Aside from getting the product that they want in a timely manner, according to recent research conducted by Salesforce, 80% of customers say that the experience a company provides is as important as its product or service. And while consumers are demanding better service, sustainability has also become a key issue. According to the latest findings of a global IBM Institute for Business Value study, 54% of global consumers surveyed reported that they are willing to change their holiday purchasing habits to help reduce environmental impact. Here's Simeon Siegel of BMO Capital Markets.
There's this moment in time where companies and people have taken a breath and let me refashion my business for the future. Let me focus on building a better company rather than focus on building a bigger company.
According to some analysts, e-commerce will account for a quarter of all retail sales by 2024. For Boom Bust, I'm Alex Mihailovich.
Time now for a quick break, but when we come back, new car sales are down for 2020, but could finish a little bit stronger by the end of this year. We'll talk about this and the future of electric vehicles with Lauren Fix, the car coach. As we go to break, here are the numbers at the close.